Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kim Barrett Show. I am your host, Kim Barrett, and on today's episode, we have the amazing Yen Japney. Now, Yen is someone I've known for a few years now who's an absolute gun when it comes to physical products, and we look at it and break down how did she grow a brand in the middle of all of the pandemic craziness that went on. How did she grow a physical product brand, right? Something pretty cool, and if you're a lady or if you're a guy, you'll be interested. It's a product for females, I believe. I don't think men would benefit from it. You've got to have to watch and listen to find out what it is. But if you're someone who's ever looked at growing a product-based business, this is going to be one that you love. So make sure you've got a pen and paper and get ready. And of course, if we can help you grow your business using advertising, head over to marketingmobile.com.au while we got your back. But until then, let's jump into the show. Yen, thank you so much for making the time to join us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Kim.
Absolute pleasure. Now, I always like to start the podcast with the same question every time, which is, Yen, if I met you and we're out and we're at a party and we're chatting and I said, what is it that you actually do? What's your go-to answer?
You know what's funny? I've listened to a few of your podcasts and I keep having to think this question through because depending on different people I talk to, I give them that kind of answer. So if someone asks me and they're male, I don't get too much into it. I just say, oh, I run an e-commerce business. But if a female asks me, I'd be like, hey, I run like a beauty business and a waist trainer business. So that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah. So us guys, we can't be interested in beauty.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? You know, like these guys, They don't care about the beauty stuff.
They wouldn't know what to like talk about. So I just, I'm in the beauty industry in e-commerce. So I just sell beauty products. That's kind of like what I say.
And so, because you were already killing it before, like we've known each other for a while, and before you've been killing it with a lot of your beauty products, and then you decided to release a new product. So tell us a little bit about that journey, because obviously you're already killing it with one, you know, and it was blowing up and doing really well, and then you decided to release this new product. Like, number one, why? Like, why did you decide to go and bring on another one and give yourself more stress and pressure inside of a business? Why did you decide to do that?
It's actually really exciting because I find that it really keeps me motivated in business when you're always finding new challenges to challenge yourself with. I know my first business was a failed business, but when I launched my second business, which was billionairebeauties.com, I was able to crush it. So I think I started the business when I quit my job at 25 and I went full time into Billionaire Beauties to launch that business, which is color contact lens. Still, I added the lashes, and that really has been sort of my success business throughout the years. So because you get kind of bored with like, you know, as you progress and then as you get older, and, you know, I hit my 30s, I'm not in my early 20s anymore. So different products kind of intrigue me better. So every time I want a sort of a product and then it's not on the market, I want to go out there and then create it. So that is when Curve Sculpting came alive. So I started Curve Sculpting during pandemic, actually. The idea was like around for a long time, but as you know, one business is already a lot of work. But during pandemic, because we're in Melbourne, we were locked down and we couldn't go anywhere. So I was like, okay, might as well start a new project. So that's when Curve Sculpting came out. I sketched the idea a long time ago. I did a lot of research, but I never really did too much into it. I remember we were planning to launch Curve Sculpting when Kim Kardashian was about to announce her waist trainer. And I actually waited until she launched her waist trainer to make sure that we don't have the same product, because I knew my product was very unique. But still, time goes on. As you get busy, you don't really think about it. And then, so since during pandemic, we launched in late July, August this year, 2020. And now, what month is it? We're in October now. So it's only been a couple of months. We sold out on our first month. So I started this because I remember my mom loved waist trainer, and she's like this short little Asian lady with a big bum. But you know, like when you're short, you always feel like you're fat. So, but when you have a flat stomach or a small waist, it doesn't seem like you're fat, so to speak. And so she bought all types of waist trainer. And mind you, my mom's very, like, she's a tighter. She's very particular with what she spends her money on. So she would buy all these type of waist trainer and wear it. And then I always found it weird, but at the same time interesting. But she lost a lot of weight during the time of waist training. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I started waist training myself, and I love having that feminine curve, like that small waist. And obviously Kim Kardashian made it really famous. And then I remember trying on different waist trainer, and because I'm a little bit busty, every waist trainer I try on the market, it really pushes my boobs up. So I thought, oh, it can't be like this. I hate wearing it. I love how it makes my waist small, but like it's just not comfortable, and it really pushes my boobs too high, and it makes it look really not natural or normal. So that's when I started sketching some stuff up, and then that's when, the birth of Curve Sculpting came.
And so for anyone listening, for the guys, because the girls probably know exactly what you mean, but give me a little bit more. So waist trainer, like what actually is it? Because I hear you saying it, I'm like,
yes.
Like, so what does it actually do? What is it? How does it work?
So
do I need one?
No, you don't. Mostly.
What if I want those curves, you know?
Oh, actually, waist trainer is good for posture as well, not having a small waist. So it is, because it's made out of bones. Do you know what a corset is?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, perfect. So let's start from there. And so a corset is like a harder version, a harder like mold than a waist trainer. A waist trainer is made out of latex on the outside, and so it's a little bit more flexible, more comfortable to wear. The corset has usually on the back, it has strings, and you really tighten the string up. So with the waist trainer, it usually comes in hooks, zips, which makes it a lot easier to wear. So that's kind of what corset and waist trainer is.
All right.
When you wear it, and it just kind of sculpts up the waist and then gives you the posture because of the steel bones.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense now. So for anyone listening, and then they're like, cool. So you saw Kim Kardashian launch it, you know it obviously works. You saw a product and you're like, cool, I need to make it a little bit better for me, because if I have problems, there's probably many other women out there that have those problems as well. Mm-hmm. But then you said, it's like, cool, I sold it out in the first month. And for most people out there who may have tried with e-commerce products before, they might be like, this sounds like too good to be true. It must have been really easy for you, because like how does that just happen? So walk us through like some of the steps from like, maybe it's from the marketing angle and the distribution angle to be able to sell out in your very first month in and amongst a crazy pandemic and you're locked down and you can't even leave your house.
So number one, I know a lot of people at home and they're putting on a lot of weight. And so it's hard for them to maintain like their figure. So, when they get out of lockdown. So that was one thing that struck me, because I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting there, I'm getting fat. I don't want to take photos. So that was kind of like during this time. So being in social media and e-commerce, we have a lot of connection with Instagram feature accounts. So being around for like probably a decade, I was able to build a lot of relationships with these accounts. So what we do is before the launch, so when we launched this product, we got them all to post a video of our product at the same time during that time. So it goes viral on social media. So we have sort of that kind of control. And I got into YouTube, because when a new product comes out, people are always looking at reviews to understand details on like the products. I remember I went to this seminar, and this always stuck with me, where there's 3 types of customers. First customer is raving fans, people who love you, already know you, will buy off you. Second customer is tire kickers. They'll ask all these questions and they'll never buy from you. And the third customer is customers who are looking for information, more information, so that they know to buy, because it's almost like objection handling. What do they want to know? Measurements, all that stuff. So then we would then give that to them. So what we do is we got some YouTubers to then review our products for us on the launch of Curve Sculpting. And then we use that with our social media and all that, and see how that goes, and then launch that on Facebook ads to then run that. So we know what works already on our social media, test that out, and then we launched it. So there's a lot of behind the scenes. People think that, but it's so many behind the scenes, social media, YouTube, influencer, featuring on different accounts, really, really getting in front of people's eye. So yeah, and then
that's awesome. And so for anyone listening, if they're going, cool, so like getting these features on accounts and all this sort of stuff, there's a cost attached, right?
Yes.
So how do you, as a business owner, like when you're looking at these products and you're going, like, and maybe someone else is out there and they're like, well, maybe I've been thinking about using an influencer. Like, how do you measure how effective they are? How do you know if they go, oh, I think it was someone released the other day, like Kim Kardashian is like, it's 500K for her to do one post on social media or something ridiculous. So if you're dealing with these influencers, how do you go, this is worth it, this is not worth it, they're charging the right amount, they're charging too little or too much? Like, how did you figure that out?
I definitely, coming from like, so my family was never rich. So coming from a so-called poor family, I do have the mentality to really budget, because when you have a mom like, how much you get that for? I can get that for cheaper. You really have that mentality to really negotiate, find out the costs and not splurging your money. So that was a benefit as well. So I did a lot of research with a lot of bloggers, YouTubers and all that, and I'll get different quotes. And then I'll think of like, okay, well, this is how much she paid for. How many orders would I have to make to cover that? And see the engagement on the type of product they did, and see the videos and really look at all the videos. Say, for instance, we got one of our YouTubers. I looked at all her videos, and is her audience watching her, my audience? So then I'll look more into that. I'm like, okay, they really engage really well with this type of product. So I'm like, okay, great. So let's invest in her. And then I'll get different quotes from different bloggers who are the same audience. So like this person is friends with this person, with this person. So then that gives a more impactful reaction, because there's, how, say, for instance, you're in the personal development industry. And if you see, oh, Tony Robbins talk about something, and you see John DeMartini talk about something, and then you see and then it all of a sudden has this impactful influence on you. So that's kind of what we do, like a really big impact on like groups of the same type of audience. So the same followers are following these type of bloggers.
And so for you, what's your most important metric that you would look at? So for example, do you look at and just go, oh, cool, they want to charge 1,000 and they have 100,000 people, so it means we pay X per 1,000? Or do you go, well, this person might charge 500 and only have 10,000 followers or viewers, but they all seem to be really, really good people? Like, what's your kind of like, do you have like a metric where you go, this is what I'm looking for exactly type thing? Or?
So here's the thing. Back then I really cared a lot about how many followers influencers have. But right now that I'm a little bit more in the social media thing, I thought, oh my God, they have to have millions of followers, because then they'll charge a lot. But it's more like micro influencers with high engagement. So you see their videos can easily go viral. For instance, one of our YouTube bloggers who did a video for us for contact lens, she has, probably 10,000 subscribers, and many of her videos didn't get much views. But the one video in the industry, like she did another contact lens one, and that went viral. So we're like, okay, well, her followers really like that type of post. So then we reach out to her. So it's really not about how many followers, it's about how they engage and if their audience like that type of product that they put out. So that's what we look for now.
And so if anyone's listening and they're going to start doing that research and looking at those things, like, and you don't have to use that one as an example, but like, how much do people charge? Because sometimes people, if they've never done it before, they're like, if they just go into someone's like, it's 1,000, 10,000, $100, like, what's the normal, like, what's the kind of like the rates, if you will, that you're kind of seeing across the people that you use?
That's really, it's a big variety. Like, say, for instance, they have not that much of following on Instagram, but they have a huge following on YouTube, which makes their Instagram, even though their following is not that much, the engagement is really high. So then it all comes down to engagement again. So it really depends, honestly, because now there's TikTok now. So now we're looking at bloggers in TikTok, and they have no idea, because they're just like everyday people who just do videos that go viral. It's nothing fancy. They don't know how to edit videos, but they know how to do TikTok. So you got to really see it for what it is. You got to judge it for yourself, and do your research. I think that's the biggest one.
So are there any pitfalls that people need to be careful of and wary of when they're going into this? Is there anything where you go like, this is a red flag for you now when you're going and looking and assessing people and going, oh, like maybe we can reach out to them? Is there anything that you go, this is a red flag that maybe other people may not know? Because as you said, you've been doing this for a while now, so you've got the experience and you probably know straight away, like, no, not looking at these people. Is there anything that's a red flag where you go, yeah, stay away from this type of influencer?
So say for instance, because we just launched Curve Sculpting, which is a waist trainer, it's really hard to sort of determine when, say for instance, you see a blogger and they show a lot of their body, like, a lot of nudeness. And you're like, okay, great. Oh, I'm going to get this influencer because she has so many following. But then if you got to look back again, like how many of those are male? So you got to really determine that. And then what another thing that I actually look for is, say if an influencer reach out to us, yes, they have 100,000 or a couple 100,000 following. And then I look through their Instagram and then I see like a lot of the males commenting or like random businesses. And then I would go, okay, because you got to look out for the engagement pods. Like if they're just seeing engagement pods and other businesses commenting on them. So then I would go in and look at the accounts. And how you figure this out is you click on the business and you go to their page and see if they comment back on their post. So that's kind of like how I determine things, because you can say, oh, there's so much comments, but is it legit from their customers asking how much, what's this product? Or are they just another brand who was in an engagement pod just commenting? So there's so much to it though. It's really fun.
So the people would really take the time. So it's like, don't just go, oh, I want to use influencers, and then,
Yeah,
oh, this guy says $1,000, great, pay it. You got to do that research. You got to go down a few
yeah.
layers. You can't just be like, all right, yeah, cool, let's do it. So did all of them work exactly as you wanted to when you started
No,
using them?
absolutely not. So with influence, yeah, no. With influencers, I remember for our launch of our otaku lens, I said, oh, I want to make it renowned. So we sent it to many influencers, because throughout the years, you will know we have a lot of a lot of influencer, and then we send it to all of them. But here's the thing: say you send 100 out, there could be only 20 that post for you, because there's no guarantee, there's no obligation, and you just got to suck it up. At the start of early days in my business, I was like, oh, but you said this, but, and then you don't want to get into that fighting with and making them feel obligated, because then you're leaving a bad impression on your brand. So you just gotta have to invest, see if they're gonna post it or not. And I forgot to answer your question actually about the money thing. So say for instance, I did a lot of research and I reached out to certain bloggers. Say for instance, I remember there's a lot of bloggers who have agency, and when they go with agency, their price is like ridiculous. I rather go directly to them and then see if they like our product. Because if they don't like it, they just want it for the money, and that's going to charge us a lot of money. I remember getting ridiculous like quotes like $10,000 for like an Instagram story, or $10,000, $15,000 for like an Instagram TV. And I was like, that's just ridiculous. I think with our Billionaire Beauties or Taku Lens, our social media has been around for a long time. So we've got like a couple 100,000 followers. Because we've been around for a long time, it's a lot easier working with influencer. We can then exchange gift for posts. Again, you take that risk of if they post or not. But with our new brand, because we are new, people are like, oh, you're just building your brand. So then we don't mind paying a little bit, but I prefer exchange for post. Always go for exchange for post, because we want our influencer who actually really use our product to review, as opposed to, oh, they're getting paid to review. So that's kind of like that's always our main focus. Our influencer genuinely like our product, and they're happy to do it for gift for exchange for post. So that's always should be your first go-to. So remember, Asian family budget.
And so with that as well,
Mhm.
how are you finding your influences? Like, are there any tools that you can use, or are you just going like just hardcore, like going down the Instagram rabbit hole research? Or is there any kind of like tools or things that people might not be aware of where you can go and get like a little bit of a head start?
So I do both. So there was an app, Brand Snob, that I use, which has influencers on there. You set out a campaign, and then it shoots it to all the influencers, and then so on and so on. But now you got to pay like 150 or 190 per month to use it, or per week. I can't remember. And it hasn't got much engagement lately. So I find when you go direct again, it's always better. Like it takes a little bit of time. I usually just craft out the message, and then say for instance I crop out a message to DM them, but like something personal, and then I'll crop out whatever it is, and then put their name in it. So always take the time to put their name in it. So it's like a cover letter when you're applying for a job. So same concept. And then so that's what I do. So another way, usually what I do is I go to where my audience follow. Like say for instance, I know my audience like to shop at say Bali Body, say for instance. And then I'll go to Bali Body and then see the influencer. And then I'll like find out their influencer and reach out to them because that's the same audience. So then that's something I would do to reach out to find out what type of influencer to go for. So that's a really good example. But otherwise, yeah, all these other accounts that you know that your followers follow. Same concept with the influencer thing. But I usually do it manually. I've got staff. Of course, I've got like over 10 VAs that I, get to work for me. So we have a whole team. But usually I like to still go in to see how everything works because you don't want to be, gray or on your game. You want to make sure you're on top of it and really understand it. So I would even create content to understand what works, which type of bloggers to reach out to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so let's talk a little bit, if you can. You mentioned obviously selling it, like using these strategies, and then you sold out in the first month. How many units is a sellout? Like how many units did you go? Like what was the numbers that kind of flew off the shelves?
So I think about 200, but then bear in mind my products are over $100. And then when you start any business, like because this is like my third business now, I didn't buy a whole bunch of stock because that's just, I want to test the idea of the products out and see if your products sell. Even though my product is unique, even though I think it's amazing, I still want to put it out there, see what the audience say about it, what to improve, and then I'll stock more because that's just a smarter way to do business now. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. The worst thing I've ever seen is when people are like, oh, my product's going to be amazing. And they buy like 6 sea containers worth of it. And that rocks up.
Kind of not their fault.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, sometimes with manufacturers, they're like, no, you have to buy 10,000 unit or 100,000 unit.
Yeah, exactly. They've got to have those skills to be able to do that. Yeah, exactly. You learn over time. I love that. Now, as we get towards the end of our time here together, I always like to ask the same question at the end of the podcast, which is, what's the question that I haven't asked you that I should have?
Where do you see Curve Sculpting going? Or what new things or new ideas I'm going to take Curve Sculpting?
Beautiful. Fill me in. What's the answer?
So with Curve Sculpting, I'm planning to launch so I think I said this in blogs, but I haven't said it here, but usually all my products is a reflection of my own life. So because I'm like, oh, I'm getting fat, I'm going to use a waist trainer. And so like say for instance, in a couple of years, if I have kids, I'll then get into pregnancy products and then swimwear, everything to really sculpt out the curves. That's kind of like the goal of our branding. So yeah, and then so pregnancy products, shapewear, more on shapewear, like fashion as well. That's something I really want to do, like getting into fashion, bringing like the curve into every fashion piece. So yeah, that's
Amazing. And so for anyone that's listening going like, awesome, like number one, maybe they want to find out more about the sculptwear, or number two, maybe they want to know more about just you. Where's the best place for people to connect with you online?
You can find me on Instagram, Yen Japney on Instagram. I try not to click too much. Or Curve Sculpting on Instagram, Curve Sculpting. Yeah, and then just shoot us a message or
So guys, we'll put all the links to that in the show notes. So we'll connect you up with Yen. We'll put all the links to her profiles and everywhere so you can connect and find out more about what she's up to. Yeah, absolutely love her. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And guys, if you listened to this and you enjoyed it, maybe you know someone who's got a product-based business, they're considering using influencers or they want to grow their business and you want to get some insights from someone like Yen who's got a heap of experience, please make sure to share this episode with them so that they can find out more and hopefully avoid some of the mistakes that people make over time when they're just trying to grow their businesses at the beginning. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you making the time.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Cheers.